hope you're enjoying the World Series. We got who's a Giants fan in the room here? Raise your hand if you're going Giants. Let's see. Giants fans? Giants? And then how many Royals fans? Who's going Royals? Underdogs. That's pretty even. What? I don't know. What was the spot there? That was about 1, 2, 3.
Yo, Justin! Hey, the cool kids in the back. Come on. We don't have microphones. Don't be scared. This is a small, intimate gathering of like-minded individuals. Come on.
Joel and I don't have a beer.
What do you want?
I didn't sit with you.
Yeah, you can sit right here.
You can heckle us. You can throw stuff at us. Taylor, where's the soft baseball? You still have it? That's a prop, and then if we get really boring, you can throw it at us. Yeah, right here.
Sorry, my God, yeah.
So thank you everyone for coming out. This is awesome. This is the Seattle Sports Tech Meetup. I'm Joel Carbon, co-organizer, along with Nick, Carter, and Taylor. So we really appreciate you guys coming out. This is awesome. What a week this has been. The startup week, our second event. I think the first event we had maybe like 15 people. So it was kind of informal and small.
This growth rate.
Hey, I'm curious, how many people here attended the Startup Week Seattle event? Hey, look at that.
Nice. Good job.
71 events done. Thank you guys for coming.
Nice. So we're just going to start doing this. I started a company 6 months ago. Was interested in sports technology. Started asking around like, what's going on with sports technology in Seattle. Folks were like, I don't know. There's a few people. We think there's a community. I was like, well, let's just start a meetup and start doing something. And Nick was there at Surf early on, so we just started. He's like, you got to meet Carter, and thus the Seattle Sports Tech Meetup was born. So it's been
basically me and Nick just like bullied Joel into doing it. Like, do it, man. Just do it. Come on, $29 on Meetup.
So it's been awesome. I just wanted to give a quick shout out. Even in our second meetup now, we already have 2 sponsors, which is awesome. Sport Techie. Does anyone here read Sport Techie? It's a really good source of like what's going on in sports technology. A few of us around the room have been writing for them, and they agreed to help sponsor us, get the word out, get it set up. So Sport Techie is one of our sponsors.
What's the website?
SportTechie.com.
Cool. It's just like it's like literally sort of like it's a news site that's specifically for like sports and technology.
Exactly. Yeah, I think they have like 60,000 readers. Good following. Like I read it every morning and I get value out of it. For if you're interested in this kind of stuff, it's super informative. And then we just signed on for the whole next year. So for the next 4 meetups, basically to cover all the food, beer, and other expenses, sports data. And if you're not familiar with sports data, they basically have APIs for just about every statistic known to the sporting world, right? They were used in the first hack day. Yeah, which were
awesome.
Yeah, they just threw it out. So now we got 2 sponsors, so we can pretty much do this for the next year, drinking and eating for free. And hopefully, at the core, I think we all want to learn something about what's going on in Seattle and connect with others. And that's pretty much the goal. So
I've got a question. Who here is aware of companies in Seattle that are sort of doing sports and tech? Let's raise your hands. Okay, so we want to go one at a time. Keep your hands up. Like, what's the name of the company? I want to get an aggregate list of companies.
I don't know. I can't think of anything.
Okay, I don't know why you raised your hand.
Potentials.
What do they do?
They are sport performance.
Okay, and you're here in Seattle?
Yeah,
Awesome. Okay.
Fan Zone?
Fan Zone?
Yeah.
What do they do?
Let the founder tell you.
Alright,
Sports news.
Sports news?
Fan trending, yeah.
Okay. Awesome.
Techstars company last year.
Sweet. Alright.
Stadion A.
There we go. Stadion A, just acquired by Arsenal. Big local victory. Right there. Rick.
Eastwing Golf Technologies.
Eastwing Golf Technologies. Awesome.
Sensoria, that's doing sensors for Swam.
Sensoria?
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. What else? Sir,
Fourscore software.
Fourscore software, what do they do?
They do amateur sports stat tracking.
Amateur sports staffing. Okay, very cool. Oh, I kind of get it. Like okay, right, like amateur sports. Like I play kickball or like softball.
Now we're talking like grade school to high school level basketball, soccer,
Gotcha.
football.
Awesome. Anything else? In the back.
Leg up analytics,
Leg up analytics. What do you guys do?
improving in-game performance through analytics.
Awesome.
And you have t-shirts.
Yeah, your hands.
Volt Athletics.
Volt
Uh,
athletics.
somewhat similar to what he's talking about. It's a local startup that tracks.
They provide exercise and training routines for high school and college athletes.
Oh,
That,
I read about
routines.
Oh, I
yeah,
got
they're Fremont.
Cool. Any others?
The sporting well, aggregating news about your favorite teams and delivering those to the.
Oh, nice.
And then there's something out of the UW that's working on concussion, something it's like high school football.
On the helmet?
Yeah.
That's really cool. Yeah, there's one ideal seat.
Of course.
Yeah.
Joel's gonna get to that eventually. I was
Yeah, that's another half of the presentation.
I just had a shout out for Joel, and then tag board.
Tech board.
Tag board.
Oh, yeah, that's not cool. Okay, cool. I see where you're at because like they're heavily used like in stadium environments and stuff. So
Public display.
that's. I mean, I did not know about.
I'll request this. Everyone that raised their hand said something. Email him what you just said because we just named them all.
Yeah, or actually, no, I'm sorry. I'm gonna update that request. Honestly, like one of the easiest ways to share information when you belong to a meetup is by leaving a comment on the meetup on the event page. Just leave a comment saying like, hey, check out XYZ. Cut and paste a URL. It'll be publicly visible. All the people here will be able to see it. The people who couldn't make it will also see it.
Just don't leave a note that says, nobody bought my Blame product I tried to tell you about. Don't leave that note. You won't get it back.
Like Google spreadsheets, read only, but maybe gets bought to on the link on your homepage.
Oh, the one that
Was that read only?
Yeah. No one's wondering why like no one responded. He's like,
I sure typed hard, but it didn't work.
oh my god, total failure.
I'm not a techie. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I can't even set up a Google spreadsheet properly. Oh man.
Everyone.
I'm gonna leave now.
I'm blown up your agenda. Sorry, continue.
No, that's awesome. That's cool. That's exactly what we want to do is capture, the other sports companies that are in Seattle and, create some sort of, place where we can connect with others. So that's awesome. Thanks, Carter. So jumping into the panel for tonight, really excited. About a month ago, Dave got in contact. He's like, yo, the Sounders are doing a startup weekend, and it happens to be right around when you guys are doing your meetup. We should join forces. I was like, oh, that's awesome. So, we talked about it, and basically the topic for tonight's meetup was born to talk about Hack Days, which we've already had one, which Carter was very involved with, and Nick, and the Sounders one that's coming up. But first, I just want to get rolling. First question would be for the panelists. Tell us a little bit about yourself and what's your favorite sports memory?
Ooh, sports memory. So take it. So I'm Dave Parker. So 5-time entrepreneur over the last 15 years, and joined Up Global and started a team about 1.5 years ago. So if you told me 2 years ago that I was going to have a job, I would have laughed because I'm doing that. If you told me I had a job at a nonprofit, I really would have laughed. We'll do 1,200 events this year worldwide in 100 countries, helping people launch startups. So regretfully, I won't be here for the November 14th through 16th startup weekend because I'll be in Croatia or something like that. Anyway, I'm not quite sure yet where I'm going to be. So favorite sports memory is I have umpired Little League Baseball for the last 14 years. And this year, my 12-year-old was playing. So last year, his team won the Woodville Championships. This year, about 12-year-olds, when they start the season and when they end the season, at the beginning of the season, they get it over the plate, not like 11 like minors. But I watched a kid throw a changeup that literally got the kid leaning back, fell over backwards, and came in for a strike. And I was like, and it was the bottom of the inning. It was the third strike, and it was ow. And half the fans were like, what? Because it was like the kid knocked over. Half the fans were like, amazing, right? So it was one of those where it's like, as an umpire, I'm like, those are the ones you live for, right?
That's awesome.
That's cool.
Nick Hughes, I'm an entrepreneur here in Seattle. Any of the people that know me here, I just have my hands in a lot of stuff. So latest projects are, I have a company called CoinBee in the Bitcoin industry. We brought the ATMs here to Seattle. They're going really well. I'm also Director of Business Development for a local startup here working on local commerce and search. It's called Notice. My previous background was I had a mobile payment company called Seconds. And also, I participated in a few hackathons around here. One of them, which we'll talk about, is the Business Sports Hack Day. And I just love big ideas, cool ideas, and especially things that I'm passionate about, which is sports as well. Favorite sports memory was I played soccer in high school, and we were in the state championship every single year that I played. And senior year we won, and I assisted on the game-winning goal. But just running as the whistle's blown, take off your shirt, and just celebrating the state championship win was pretty awesome. So.
Nice.
Wow.
Good one.
Sorry, I can't do that. Hi, everybody. My name is Carter Rabassa. I'm a developer. I work for a company that's actually based in the Bay Area called Twilio. We make an API that does some cool stuff with telephony. It's funny, I didn't grow up loving sports. I probably didn't really get into professional sports until I was in maybe late in high school or into college. But now I'm a voracious sports fan. I actually every single day I load up my podcasts of DC sports talk radio just so I can keep up with what's going on with the Redskins or the Wizards or the Capitals. So I'm very voracious. I love. I like the Seahawks okay, the Sounders are all right, but I'm a DC kid. And beyond just sort of being a developer for a tech company, I organized Sports Hack Day, which was a really fun hackathon. It took place almost 2 years ago. It's actually kind of sad that it's been so long since we've had another Sports Hack Day. People email me every now and then hey, when's the next Sports Hack Day? It just turns out that as anyone knows who organizes a meetup or an event, there's a lot of time that goes into building these kinds of experiences, and I just haven't had time. And I'm quite frankly, I'm hoping to maybe meet some people here that would be interested in helping me put on the next Sports Hack Day, because it's what's that proverb? Many hands make light work or something. It's much easier to do amazing things in the community if you have people who can help you. And I'm positive if I meet a few of the right people, we can do another Sports Hack Day in February. My favorite sports memory, I don't have any heroic ones, but I did get to attend the World Cup in Germany back in 2006, and it wasn't an amazing memory because the U.S. did well, right? But if any of you ever have an opportunity to support your country's sports team, especially abroad, there were complete strangers that I met in bars in Munich, and within an hour we were best friends and we were sharing memories and we were painting our faces and wearing flags, and it was the most intense sports fan experience I've ever had. So I know it's non-trivial to travel around the world to do something like that, but it was one of the best experiences I've ever had.
Nice, that is cool, really cool. And I love the responses. I think Nick definitely goes for the win on round one. So you'll get a nice
you get a beer.
A door prize here, which is, you'll see me give these out a lot. This is a 1987 San Francisco Giants baseball card.
This is why I love this guy.
And the winners of the different events tonight will get different prizes of this sort, so congratulations.
Thanks.
I think the coolest thing about this, though, is you guys actually told a fan experience story from 3 totally different perspectives. In the game, which is obviously the ultimate, a fan of the game, or being involved within the game from some other perspective. I mean, that's awesome. 3 different angles, ultimate fan experience. That's what we all want to capture. And ideally, we capture it through technology, right? That's the goal. So, Carter, you gave it a beautiful segue. We're here to talk about Hack Days and Startup Weekends, right? You had a huge event. We got one coming up in 2 weeks. I think everyone wants to know, what are they? How do we interact with them? What should we expect? So maybe can you tell us a little bit about?
Yeah, I mean, I'll kind of tell you guys like a little bit about where Sports Hack Day came from. But first, like, you guys want to do like a little interactive demo? You want to kind of experience this a little bit?
Yes.
So who has a phone? Can you all take your phone out,
I
please?
do.
All right. So just take your phone out. This is going to take 2 seconds. All right. I just want you to send a text message to the following phone number: 415-488. I'm going to say it again. Start over. 415-488-8913. Say it again. 415-488-8913. Now here's the thing. I need you to send the name of an NFL football player. It doesn't matter who it is. It could be your favorite player. It could be someone who's on your fantasy football team. It could be someone that has a history of injuries. Someone that you're constantly stressed out about whether or not they're going to be starting for you.
Do you have to spell it correctly?
Yes, you must know and spell.
Full name, last name.
Full name, first name, space, last name, and then hit send. Got to be spelled correctly. And I'm going to go ahead and play along. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to type somebody in where I already know the answer. Robert Griffin. That guy. He's not playing, but I just want to see if I saw it. So anyway, are you guys getting some responses?
Yeah.
Awesome. Oh, Robert Griffin is out for the season. That sucks. Anyway, so what I just showed you was an app that I built in literally 5 minutes using a combination of the Twilio API, which is the company that I work for, but also another API called the Fantasy Football Nerd API. And Twilio is really simple. It does one thing really well. It lets you receive text messages and lets you send text messages. The Fantasy Football Nerd API does one thing really, really well. It lets you do queries on tons and tons of fantasy football related data. And when you marry these two technologies together, you get the experience that you just had, right? And that's what I love about hackathons. That's what I love about startup weekends. Like, I love the idea of technically oriented people being creative with all of these fun Legos, right? Like all these Legos, and imagining like, hey, if I put this together with this, on top of this, underneath that, what could I create, and what kind of experiences would that provide people? And that's what we did at Sports Hack Day. Sports Hack Day took place on Super Bowl weekend, not this past Super Bowl weekend, but the prior one, so like almost 2 years ago. And we brought in, I think like maybe 9 or 10 API or platform companies. So Twilio, Google Cloud, just a bunch of API companies. Like, it was awesome. And we had, I think, almost 100 developers show up and spend 48 hours hacking on these APIs and just building new experiences from scratch. And that's what I get excited about, because like I'm a fan, right? And once upon a time there was no such thing as a podcast, and then somebody invented podcasts. And now I get to follow my team all the way from Seattle. And as a fan, I know that there are more ways for me to sort of stay engaged with my team, with my fellow fan, my community of fans. But we need people to make those things, and that's what I love about Hackdays.
That's awesome. I wish I was there. It sounds so cool. 100 people know us. Like that's.
We're gonna do it again, right?
Yes, we are.
Okay.
Thank you, Hurst. So.
And you go next, because that's a good follow-on, and then I'll go last. But
Okay. Cool.
You won the first round. You can't defer. So let me give you 3 things about the Startup Weekend that's coming up. Number 1, how many of you guys did the Startup Weekend before? Most people know about Startup Weekend, but let me give you a quick rundown. So it's 54 hours. Matt has a promo code for you as well, which I'll take last in a bit. So the Startup Weekend is a 54-hour contest. You come in on Friday night. There'll be about 100 to 125 people in the room, and you get a chance to pitch your idea. Now, I would encourage you, don't get your lame second, number 2 idea. Go with your best ideas, because ideas die from lack of exposure, not overexposure. And then you spend 54 hours, you get to recruit your team Friday night, and then by Sunday night, you get to launch a demo. Now, a little interesting who you get to launch the demo to on Sunday night happens to be a number of the folks associated with the Sounders. If you don't know much about the Sounders ownership group, or let me tell you, they're also a fairly active group of angel investors in Stone. And they're super geeky about technology, and they're super astounded that technology hasn't really come to tech yet, in sports yet. So I get a call from Chris DeVore, and he's like, hey, I need to introduce you to Adrian Hanauer. The Sounders want the community to know that they want to actually invest in sports tech-related things. And so they want to run a startup weekend. Awesome, that would be super cool. I love sports. We're doing with Adrian, and they're like, we want to do it. So we originally had it scheduled for this weekend. It just happens they have something going on tomorrow afternoon.
Small game.
Yeah, small game. And at the time, they were like so leading. They're like, we could do it that weekend. It'd be super fun. And we finally went, yeah, stop, don't do it. This game matters a lot. So we moved the date to November 14th through 16th. So that gives me 54-hour event. You don't know the team when you get up. Bring your idea. You'll be able to recruit developers, designers, or join a team, and then get to pitch actual investors. I won't take it to include a judging panel as yet, but it'll be super interesting. So the third piece about it that's super interesting is the reason that I won't be there is because I'll be overseas because it's part of Global Startup Battle. So we do 1,200 events this year, but those 2 weekends, November 14 and November 21, we'll do 250 cities in those 2 weekends. So anybody who's ever facilitated an event gets to go facilitate an event somewhere. So there's a contest, and there's 4 tracks of contests, including cash prizes for the best winners, trips to San Francisco to meet with Google Ventures. So all the prizes we started to announce. So if you're like, I have a kick-ass sports tech idea, not only do you get to present it to Adrian Hanauer and investors locally, but you get a chance to be recognized globally as one of the top startup weekend cities globally. So in case you needed more than one reason to get out, but I think the normal price, Matt, what, $99?
Yeah.
But for them,
Yeah, so we have a discount code, Sports Tech Meetup, 50% off. And Adrian Harnauer will be very involved with this event.
if you've already bought, let me know. We can get you credit for it too. So I expect there'll be about 100 to 125 people there. Matt will be there helping to organize. We're going to bring a facilitator in. You guys will have an amazing group of mentors that weekend, by the way. As a side note, I have a couple friends who are involved in sports, but I never talk about sports. One of them happens to be the GM of the Hornets, and I shot him a little note and said, "Hey, Rich, I'm thinking about doing this thing. Can you give me a couple of big ideas that you would like to see?" So if you're serious about it and you want to know what a couple of those ideas are, feel free to let me know. But I would say they're super excited about front office, back office, big data, wearables. If you have ideas in any of those things that are innovative, you will find a super receptive audience there. So hope you can come.
That's so cool. I'm really excited about it myself. How many folks are going to go to the weekend right now that you know of?
Cool.
That's
Spread
good.
the word, bring a friend.
Yep, that's going to be cool. Sports Tech Meetup, 50% off. Thank you. That's really awesome. So yeah, just wanted to pass on. Nick was involved in the first event. I think you're a co-founder, co-builder. What do you call your partners in an event like this?
A little bit of everything.
The guy that built it, for sure.
So tell us a little bit about your
so
experience with you guys built. And
Yeah, so Justin and I go back. He helped me with my mobile payments company that I was building at the time, and we were still working on that. But he emailed me, he was like, "Man, let's do this," you know. And so we joined. And what's really cool, I guess, a question real quick is, how many people in here are non-technical, which means you don't know how to code?
Half.
About half.
Yeah.
I'm not, and you know, and you know, I think some people maybe are hesitant to go to a hackathon. First of all, it's called a hackathon. I'm not a hack, so what do I do? But any team that is formed within these events need both people that can code as well as other people that can't, whether they're marketing or business or whatever. And design, right? And you're judged on actually the holistic concept, not just like, hey, we just built this random thing. It's like, what's the business model? How are you going to distribute it? Like, it really is, you need all of it. So I was the non-technical part, and yeah, we joined on. It was awesome. What I thought was cool was it was oriented around the Super Bowl. So at the end of the event, after the pitches were done, we actually sat and watched the Super Bowl, and that was fun. But we had the ability to access real-time sports data. It was actually sports data. It was one of the sponsors, and we chose to build an app that pulled in real-time sports data. And our concept was called Calling It, and it was really just a prediction app. Like if you could watch an NFL game or a baseball game or a basketball game, and we picked like the top 15 categories of stats, and you could actually like call and claim like, hey, the New England Patriots are going to have more first downs than the Buffalo Bills, and you would you would call it, and it would over the game it would determine if you were right or wrong. So it was first of all an accuracy type of play, and then you get a scoring to it, which would almost be like a SAT score. It would determine how accurate you are. But the point is that we looked at taking an event in time, using real-time data and building something around that that would be engaging for fans. And that's just one idea. I don't think it's world-changing, but what I found was really awesome about these events is it gets you thinking about this sort of industry and what's lacking and what would be engaging as a fan or an athlete or an owner of a franchise or whatever the case may be. So whether it's a startup weekend outside of sports or sports-oriented, they're cool, they're valuable, and they get your mind really spinning on what's possible, and that's why I would encourage anyone to do it. So yeah, we had a great time. It was fun. You actually are challenged in ways that maybe you never have before. It's a condensed time frame, so you might meet people that you just met these people, and now you're hacking on something together, and it's stressful, and it's like time. There's a deadline, and so I don't know. There's so many ways that it's fun.
Between now and then, just as a heads up, if there's anything about whether it's youth sports or professional sports, the stuff that makes you groan, you're like, I can't believe it. That's usually stuff I'd scratch out and figure out if there's an idea there, right? Because if it makes you groan about something, it'll be something else. And in the next 2 weeks, you have a chance to go, hey, this thing about sports, it was like, that's actually an idea, right? And I would just encourage you to think about that, where it's like, this thing in sports makes me groan. You're like, yeah, that's it, that's the idea.
That's awesome. And I love the idea. And I disagree, though, with one thing, Nick, about it being game-changing. Fantasy, micro-fantasy. Have you ever heard of FanDuel? Who here knows FanDuel? What did they just report last quarter? They're pretty huge. $110 million in receipts in a quarter. Come on. It's a huge idea.
There is some big stuff there.
There's a TED Talk that just came out, too, that said fantasy sports or fantasy gaming compared to real gaming is actually a much bigger market. I don't know if you saw the virtual sports equivalent and the WoW, where they held the WoW event last weekend. Oh, it was like the Olympic Stadium in Korea.
Oh, yes.
So there's lots of convergences here on both tech and sports. Yeah.
Has anyone here heard of the Sloan Sports Conference? Yeah. 3 of you. So it's this huge event, and I guess it started out really being exclusively sports analytics space, and it's held at the Sloan School of Business, or I guess run by the Sloan School of Business in Boston. But it's really expanded. I went to the event 2 years ago, and it really is part analytics, but also part just technology and apps and entertainment and tech, really sports and tech. And it's an amazing event. And when I went there, it was so obvious what a massive what an absolutely massive chunk of the economy sports is, but how grossly underutilized technology is. If you compare social networking to sports, social networking is a pathetic droplet, economically compared to sports. But we have brilliant, computer scientists focusing on how to get you to Snapchat. It's kind of insane, right? So yeah, when I went to that conference, I just thought to myself, holy shit, some really smart developers are going to make a lot of money in this space if they can just sort of decide that they want to do that. And I forgot, the actual grand prize for Sports Hack Day was a ticket to the Sloan Sports Conference, which is a pretty cool prize.
Nice, that's awesome. Cool, well, thank you so much, guys. It's been awesome. We want to keep this as informal as possible and get some questions. So, what are you guys interested in? Questions for the panel?
Or questions for each other, right? I mean, what do all of you, want to get out of this meetup? What do you want to talk about?
Sure. I heard that it's kind of we have designers also participating as a team member, non-coders. What type of designers do you?
So at Startup Weekend, it's usually about 25% designers. So folks who can do everything from layout on some sort of Adobe format, whatever works best for them. Developers are about 40%, and the rest are business and marketing and people with ideas. So a lot of people come to these type of events with hey, I'm good at coding and I'm good at designing, but I don't have an idea. right? So some of you are sitting there going, well, I've got an idea, but I don't know how to do it. That's why these are so cool and when they work out. So we sell tickets that are bounded in percentages so that we don't have too many idea people and not enough developers or designers. So from a design skills standpoint, maybe to do a prototype, it's a paper prototype or something you do on PowerPoint, you go ask people about sports and go to market development. And customer development is really what we're after. Is it really solving a problem or is it just fun? Because sometimes, Flappy Bird didn't really solve a problem, but they seem to sell a lot of product. Right? So it doesn't have to solve a problem, it can just be fun. But that's the reason the balance of the two is important.
Nice, thank you. Good question. Other questions? Got a hand in the back there?
I forget your name in the orange.
Dave.
Steve, but you said something that I'm curious about, that ideas die from under exposure, not overexposure, which is, I'm really new to this, and so a question I have just about starting things up in general is, how do you know when it's the right time to share your ideas and with how many people, and should you be at a certain point, down the road before you share with a large audience, or do you just, I don't know, I'm really curious
There's
about
two
that.
schools of thought with it, and I'll give you both sides of the story. So in 1,000 Startup Weekends last year, I think I had one person say, somebody stole my idea. Okay. Ideas are about a combination of both big ideas and execution of the idea. So the earlier you can go talk to people about your idea, the better it is. And every once in a while, we'll run across people that have similar ideas. And what happens is you go to customer development, which is the process of interviewing actual people you think would be the buyers. And what happens is they inform the direction of your idea, right? So if other people are asking customers, you're going to end up with ideas converging at times and competitive ideas. But for the most part, my experience has been doing 5 startups is the sooner I started talking with potential customers, always the better. And if I had a little bit of customer data and came into an event like this, like if you have an idea particularly, you're like, I want to go to a startup weekend, I would go interview 25 people and include that in your pitch. I would say, my name's Dave, my sports idea is this, I've talked to 25 potential customers over the last 2 weeks and here's what they told me, and you will have people join your team. Right? So I always tell people when investors write checks, they have opinion in their checkbook. When you're going to pitch through your idea, you have an opinion. If you have an opinion in data, that trumps their opinion. Right? So you just need to go talk to customers as soon as you can. And then when you're there, go out and share the idea. Right? Because what will happen is people go, that idea doesn't make any sense to me at all. Or like, oh my God, that's a brilliant idea. I want to join your team. Right? So we have no IP stuff that we do in advance at Startup Weekend, never have. And the reason is because to take an idea to actually launch it, Matt's at a company called Rover, and Rover got started at a Startup Weekend. And I don't think there's a few people on the team that were there when they started, but the team's grown a lot since then.
One person.
One person, right?
So I mean, for the first year and a half, most of the team was there.
Yeah.
It's cool. I think it's a great question. I mean, from the entrepreneur startup mode, like this was a question we had a ton at the beginning. We're like, should we keep this pretty stealth? And we went pretty open, kind of and transparent early on. There's pros and cons to that, right? Like people did steal our idea right off the bat. And then like also this other company popped up and we're like, holy shit, like this other company is, basically doing what we're doing, they're doing it better, and they actually are in all 30 stadiums at once. And I think it was a good gut check for us, to be honest. We're like, okay, there's competition, right? Like it's not just the concept itself anymore. We have to stand on something stronger. We gotta tighten up our business model. We gotta create some key partnerships. And it just, I think, actually made us a better company. So, I definitely can appreciate, wanting to hold on to the idea, but I would agree with Dave. I think get it out there sooner rather than later. Protect it if you can, meet some patent or IP lawyers, and just have them see if there's something that you can claim ownership. That doesn't hurt at all. But I think at the end of the day, you want a little competition to really push your idea, push your business model, and hopefully win that competition.
And then I would add to that, this is gonna sound wrong, but we're all not that smart, right? You might have a really good idea, but that doesn't make a successful business. It's execution, it's what you learn in the market, it's how you pivot or how do you change. And I think to me people overestimate oh my God, I've got this $1 million, $1 billion idea. You don't. And if you do, other people have that as well. And so I think the sooner you can talk to people, gauge their response, the more information you have, right? more information, that's wisdom and that's information that you can make a decision off of. And of course, maybe there's a few secrets that you keep under your sleeve, but I'm in the same boat. Talk to people, share it, talk to founders, talk to customers, potential customers, mentors. Gauge the way that, like, watch how they respond to the way you're talking. Like, the nonverbal cues tell you a lot too. And then you'll continue to start really tightening up what you're doing. That's my advice. I mean, that's what I've learned. Is we're not all that. It's execution, it's team, it's the quality of your tech team and all that.
Great question. That's an awesome question.
So let's say you've got a concept that you feel is going to attract a bunch of users, and you have ideas for revenue, but you really want to focus on like gathering that user base. How do you value users? Like, if you want to not focus on revenue right away, but you know that it
You don't have to focus
get
on
there?
revenue right away, but you need to focus on cost of customer acquisition and lifetime value of the customer. So keep in mind there's the basic economics that you're trying to create in any business model. And I make those, I'm a business model geek, right? So I've like studied 2,700 different companies and how they got funded and blah, blah, blah. So the quick note on that is you have the cost of building your product, cost number one. You have cost number two, which is the cost to acquire customers, right? So and most people look at it and go, I can build this app for like $3,000, it's awesome. That may be true. But how much will it cost you to acquire a customer? If it costs $100 to get a customer that has a lifetime value of $50, that's a problem. In fact, it's such a problem, it's a non-starter. You shouldn't go to your business. So the thing you want to really test is, what does it cost me to acquire customers? Which is why I'm a big fan of non-technical type of prototyping. Because I can go buy ads on Facebook or go buy ads on Google and drive people to a LaunchRock page and test how much it costs me to drive traffic. And I would rather spend $1,000 doing that than $1,000 doing anything else. Because I want to know, is anybody searching for this keyword that I think is so brilliant? And if they aren't, I want to know. And if they are, I want to know, is there anybody else searching for it? And can I get traffic? And can I buy traffic? So Rich Barton did a great talk this week, and he talks about it's okay if you're buying traffic to get the flywheel spinning, but at some point the flywheel has to go by itself, right? And that's a reference to good to great when you're talking about flywheel. So cost of customer acquisition is the thing you want to test, because sometimes you can build a product, but I always ask people, should you build that product? And the should you answer is cost of customer acquisition and lifetime value. And lifetime value is super easy to calculate. It's how much revenue will that customer bring in between 2 and 3 years that follow, right? So I think I would look at that one and say, you don't have to build a product to do it. The reason WhatsApp sold for what it sold for was they figured out how to acquire customers at unbelievably economical economics, incredibly cheap economics, right? That's why it sold for the multi-billion-dollar valuation.
It was also a good product.
That's true. And particularly outside of the U.S., right? Because where you had to
It worked,
pay for
right?
tax, yeah. Yeah, when I was in Brazil, I was like, wow, I get it. Right? Where here I was like, yeah, conceptually I get it, but there it was like, I paid a tax, and there it's like, it's a free after tax.
Good question. Thanks.
So talking of ideas, what's a sport technology that you would want to build right now?
That's a good question.
Wait, you want free ideas?
We know Joel's idea.
Sorry, weekend's coming up. I gotta.
We know Joel's idea.
My idea's out there in the open.
I have an idea, but I don't know if I should talk about it. So who was I talking to earlier tonight? Are they still around? That, yeah, we. All right, here's this idea. Actually, I'm just going to say it. So, for instance, this Sunday, there's going to be hundreds of millions of people. There are at least 50 million people watching NFL football, like, right? And they're all over the world. What if? This is just like thinking out loud. But what if players were wearing like some sort of wearable device, and then consumers had an app they could download? And just like Yo, if you guys have heard of Yo, where it's just a simple, like, it just pushes a notification. What if you, as a fan, you're sitting there in London or New York or Seattle, and you just, like, are hitting a button, and you're basically expressing your, like, support or, like, you're clapping, but then it would, like, buzz on the intensity of the amount of people around the world that are, like, cheering for them at that moment. So it's, like, real time. So what you're doing is you're actually connecting fans around the world to that player in that moment when they're performing. Like, how powerful would that be if you're like on the field, you're in the huddle, you're like, holy fuck, like, people are like hitting me up. I mean, I just came to that the other day. I'm like, how can we bridge the gap between fans that are just watching lazily on their TV and across the world, and then players that are on the field. You know, or you can wrap that many different ways. But that's something that I would like to see is like interactions between fans that maybe are doing like fantasy football, but that's removed from professional. How do you encourage them that you're not in their vicinity?
How does that affect the player when they do something wrong and it's just like silent? No motion or they just like hit
Yeah, there's a negative go, and you can zap them, right?
Get together.
Seriously. Fingers, zap.
Every idea needs a pivot, so you gotta keep working.
I just think that would be really, really cool.
Very big NFL would help.
I mean, and there's no business model initially in my mind on that, but I just think that's we're bridging the gap between mobile.
How many believe that wearables are here to stay?
In some way, yeah.
Okay. All right. So if you believe wearables are here to stay, this is like, if you talked to Elon Musk before he did Tesla, one of his beliefs was batteries will catch up. Right? Battery technology will catch up to the electric car. Right? So if you believe wearables are here to stay, then it says that at some point, professional athletes, amateur athletes, little league athletes will have some form of wearable on it. We haven't figured out how to do it yet necessarily. If you're a hardware person in the room, awesome, good on you. I don't know how to solder stuff very well. It's going to burn things when I do that. So, but I believe that wearables are going to go that way. How many believe big data is here to stay? So there's a convergence of big data, knowledge of predictable data and analytics that has to do with, how long is this player going to play based on the velocity of how quickly they stop if you're an NBA player, or how fast they run, or how fast you can pick. They could get into what's the value to them and the economics. How long are they going to play? Are they going to make it to 28? Are they going to make it to 32? Right? So if you think about it as goes back to mix the sports metaphors, right? Skate to where the puck is going, not to where the puck has been. If you believe there are trends in sports that are here to stay, go in that direction and figure it out as you go, right? And the big data play, by the way, so Rich Joe, who was my roommate in college, now works for Michael Jordan in Charlotte, and he's like, get me an answer to that big data question. How long are these guys going to play? And I'm like, that's a big ass question, right? Is there privacy issues involved? Damn right. Does somebody have the answer to privacy issues yet? Nope. Do you need to worry about that, or do you need to work on a big idea? Work on the big idea first, right? Because some of the other stuff, you're not in control of privacy issues. You're not in control of who's doing which wearable. But if you skate to where the puck's going to be, it's pretty good.
So there's a really interesting meetup last night that I helped organize. It's the Seattle API meetup. But there's this one speaker named Jim Heising. He works for a really interesting company called If This Then That. They're a Bay Area company, and he's an expert. And he spoke about the Internet of Things, which is very related to wearables. And the guy's so deep on this stuff. Like his family owns a distillery out on Whidbey Island, and he single-handedly built a bunch of IoT infrastructure that lets him monitor the state of the brewery, on his phone or something. Just he knows what he's talking about. And despite the fact that he's very comfortable with hardware and Internet of Things and protocols and all these things, he actually gave some really interesting advice to the people that meet up last night. And he told them that if you want to get into the Internet of Things, if you want to bet on it, if you want to build a company around it, build a company around software and data in the cloud. And don't worry about hardware. Just don't worry about it. He believes that at the end of the day, the hardware is a commodity. It's going to come and go. Companies, they're going to be winners and losers, and it's unbelievably higher risk. But if you can build competency in software, in the cloud, in big data, you will succeed in this marketplace, regardless of what ultimate device you're trying to connect to on the edge, as he called it. And I bought into that, and I think Seattle's a great town for cloud and for big data. So when you're thinking about Startup Weekend or any hackathon, maybe it's possible, whether the hardware exists or not, just pretend it does for a minute. If there's a piece of hardware that's feasible, who cares whether you have it in your hand or not? Just kind of take it for granted and do everything else. Validate that there's a need. Maybe prototype some cloud software. Do some big data stuff. Don't let your idea die because you couldn't solder the thing in 48 hours.
Thanks. That's good. I have I just thought about a question for Dave, actually. What data sets will be available during the event? What is Is there real-time data? Like, what is available? Because that made the difference between with startup or that hack.
Yeah, so we
sports hack.
actually talk with the same folks, and they're going to make that same data set available for their
Sports data.
sports data over there.
It's
So,
huge. That's
so if you guys have other stuff, you're like, that should be really kick-ass if this was available. Let us know what it is. And, you know, the nice thing about running member events we run is we're able to call somebody and say, hey, could you guys do this? And people are like, really? That'd be awesome, right? So we get that frequently. You know, there's AWS credits, there's Google Cloud credits, there's free domain names, right? So there's just a bunch of stuff that comes with that full package. So, but if you have something specific, you're like, hey, there's an API, it'd be great if we can get it. Let us know. We'll call and now figure out how to tag team and get them to do it.
Stoked. Yeah, last question. Then we're gonna leave a little time for folks to kind of pitch stuff or just make little announcements, get feedback. You guys can stay for a few more minutes.
Yeah.
So yeah, one last question, and we'll wrap this part up.
Legally speaking, when you look at sports and data, I mean, there's some big boys with NBA, NFL, NCAA, and they've got a lot of IP to protect, rebroadcasting rights, things like that. Is there any recommended, like, repository or something we can go and look at for help on what's legal, what's not legal? I find myself, as a startup, I don't know. I heard that, hey, I'm going to get sued by these guys for rebroadcasting sports and things like that. What do you do?
So there's some general legal precedents that you'll want to look at. So legal and broadcast and things like that, which Rob Glazer was talking about last night. There's general legal precedents that you don't want to bump up against. But for things like access to data, if you talk to the folks at the Sounders or the folks at the Mariners and the folks who said, here's the idea we're working with, they're not technologists as a rule. They're just not technologists. Right? So if you came and said, I have an idea. So there's a difference between telling somebody what you're doing and telling them the secret sauce of how you're doing it. Right? And people come and say, well, how do you guys do that? And what they really mean is, I don't understand what you're doing. Tell me what you're doing. Right? So keep secret sauce secret, keep trade secrets secret. But when you go talk to somebody like the Sounders or the Mariners, and by the way, that weekend there'll be folks from the Sounders there, we're like, this is a problem. And you'll talk with one of them, they'll be like, that's not a problem. Right? And because you need to find that out. But I would just literally go pitch them, because my concern about somebody, a major league team of any kind, stealing my sports idea is pretty low.
So my question is less about protecting my idea, the idea of my idea.
Sure.
More the concern
It's
of
the data. Like
someone knocks on my door and says, hey, listen, your app's allowing people to rebroadcast Seahawks games.
Well, I mean, okay. I mean, is your app literally allowing people to rebroadcast the visual game? I mean, like.
No, but that's the secret sauce that Dave's talking about that
I mean, like, you can talk to any lawyer and they can explain to you, like, the difference between sort of public domain facts, that you can publish. The Seahawks beat the 49ers score of 13-7. That's not copyrighted. You can publish that. You can have that in your app, right? But there's a line, and and a lawyer can tell you the difference between where that line is and when, like, the NBA or the NFL actually owns a copyright to that kind of information and where you can't use it.
I would do web research first to be cheaper for you, because that
Yes.
$6.50 an hour, you can burn some time really quick. But I agree. So the question is, there's images and broadcast rights. You can go research some of that. And the question is, how close to that line can you get without getting sued?
My guess is a group like this has probably experienced a lot of these areas, and if there's some shared knowledge, it would be great to.
I don't think there's a really strong history of leagues coming after small app developers. I mean, I think
I've heard of a couple.
Yeah,
I mean,
I'm sorry.
they come after me twice.
Can you share the experience?
So MLB, those guys are, yes, they are super hardcore. They got a whole, I think, building full of lawyers that are watching like Facebook ads. So we had an emblem on one of our Facebook ads, and we got a cease and desist.
Yeah, there you go. Well, I mean, of the MLB logo, right? There's trademark and copyright stuff that's pretty red line. The minute they see that, and honestly, I empathize with them because it sucks. The way trademark law works, if they don't proactively defend their trademark, they lose it. So it's almost like their hands are tied. It's like, look, we can't let you do it.
I think it's an awesome question.
If you have any specifics you want to ask about, I'm happy to
This would be a good topic, I think, actually. I've already gotten a couple of topics for future meetups. One was wearables. We talked about, I think that would be awesome. I think legal issues, that's definitely a whole nother realm.
Yeah, there's some great IP folks in town, and they'd be happy to come talk to you.
Yeah, I like that. Let's make that a topic, and also you guys can suggest future topics. just throw them out, but I think these two right here. So we said one of the interests in the first meetup was some sort of opportunity to pitch or announce or just kind of do something. It's an open concept, but we just said we would take like 10 minutes. 3 people would get 3 minutes each to either announce something they're working on, ask a question, this or that. So are there 3 people who want to announce or pitch something tonight? 1? Anyone else?
You'll get brave.
You win.
You get 10 minutes.
It's always the coldest water.
Oh, 2. Nice. We got 2. Last chance to talk about. You can pitch an idea. Anything. All right. Oh, 3.
Oh.
Nice. You just want to come up here just to the, and we'll say just 3 minutes max, but
I'll probably do this sometime.
okay, cool.
Yeah, so my name is Sarah. I work for a company called StatDNA. We were acquired by Arsenal like close to 2 years ago, but it just became public, so now I can finally talk about it. Anyways, we do soccer analytics. We help them out in the transfer market, helping them to evaluate potential new players. We also help them with scouting, the opposition, things like that. So we're very involved with on-the-field performance statistics. So anyways, I'm up here because we are looking for like a junior developer. Anyone who's kind of young and passionate about soccer would be great. We work on the Microsoft stack, so that's like a bonus, but it's not a deal breaker if you're not familiar with that. So yeah, if you are interested or you know anyone interested, come find me after we're done.
Thanks. Nice. Here, thank you for coming out.
Is that a roll card?
That's a Rose card.
We're from Boston.
I got a mix of Royals and Giants card. If you want to swap it out for a Giants card later, you can. Just come with me.
I'm Brandon Foreman. I guess I run a company called Fourscore Software. My last name is Foreman. I'm working on an app called StatCast, and the whole idea is to broadcast stats to friends and family. I got 4 boys. They play soccer, they play basketball, and my whole weekends are used for texting back and forth what the scores are, how our kids doing. So I wanted an app that was really easy to track stats that anybody could do. It's much different than I've seen from all the other apps because it's really state-based instead of 14 buttons on your screen at once. So it more tells a story. I use logos, and that's hence my question. I allow people to pick their own logos and put it on. I allow people to put their pictures of their kids on the apps, and so or for the plays. So I keep parents and friends updated during the game. So I broadcast stats out in real time. And after games, I also create trading cards. So virtual trading cards. You can upload them to Facebook, upload them to Instagram, whatever you want. I'm still working on the ability to actually print them and send them out. So we can actually have the stats from their kids' historic game, whether it's a Simpson or whatever. So that's my idea. I've an app for soccer. I've got an app for basketball. I'm still looking for help with design skills and also just straight up dev skills. I've done everything myself from XAML to actually half the team that are people here are developers, Angular, Breeze, and SQL Azure. So it's a lot to cover. I need some help.
Cool. Question.
Yes.
How I assume users are inputting their information, correct? Like parents are putting in the stats. Yes.
Yeah, so this is some secret sauce. Getting these ideas out there early.
Just say what you can, but
I was watching games, and I look out there, and who's tracking the games? And no offense, but usually it's like an older gentleman, 50s or 60s, trying to up and down the court. And these guys are not I'm sure they're not making their living reffing games. Or it's a young kid, right? It's a love of the sport. So I thought I gotta hire these guys to track my games for me. So I'm creating an auction site. And basically, if you download my app and use it, you're a StatCaster. You have the ability to broadcast stats out. And all I gotta do is connect StatCasters with coaches and managers and parents who want to hear their stats. I watch my kids' game, and if I can't track the stats because of some bug, I go crazy. I'm just like a crack withdrawal. I gotta know what happened. I mean, my kid comes after, he's like, "Dad, how many rebounds did I have?" It's like, I had a bug. I don't know. Probably in the range of 12, right? So I'm going to hire these guys and just say, create an auction system. Hey, listen, I got a game this Tuesday at 6 o'clock. Looking for a StatCaster in the Bellevue area. You just register, and now you track the stats. The players or the coaches and the managers and the parents get the stats. They evaluate the StatCaster, give them a star rating, arrange a price. It's an auction. I don't care if it's $10 or $20.
Yeah, this is very, it's very Uber, right? It's a very sharing economy. Like, free time.
Create a microeconomy of people who want to consume stats and people who want to broadcast stats.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Sharing.
I like it.
Thanks. I think we have one more.
Yeah.
Come on up and then we'll wrap up. We got plenty of food, beer. The game is supposed to go to nothing.
What's the score? 3-0 who?
Royals.
Royals! That's right.
It's just us. We're the only two.
Why are there so many San Francisco fans in Seattle? That's close. I should hate Seattle or San Francisco.
Okay,
Take it away.
I posted this on the Meetup thing. This really doesn't have much to do with tech, but it is an idea that I think people need. If anybody, as you all know, like especially the youth sports soccer scene is huge, especially here in Seattle. It's not just soccer, basketball, all these sports that require cleats. And does anybody care to guess how much I've spent on my daughter's cleats since she was 6?
8,000.
You dragged her up here, so you better.
She actually wouldn't even bring her mercurial cleats here. That's how well she takes care of them.
These are my referee cleats, so they're just simple black.
So, while I demonstrate what I am going to do, she is going to demonstrate simultaneously how long it takes her to untie a cleat and then tie it back up properly. So, she can go. What I am trying to design is a slip-on, slip-off cleat protector. This is just a really rough prototype that I've cobbled together with household items, and it's not complete. Sort of rubber boot sole and a lining that is squishy, and the entire piece. This will be one piece, but the toe of the sole isn't big enough. And then I'm trying to decide right now between Velcro and or elastic. But basically, the idea is you slip the cleat in, maybe one thing of Velcro to do, and then the kid or even the professional athlete can run across the track to use the restroom or to grab something from the car without having to tie and untie the cleats. Okay.
Nice. Good timing.
It didn't actually take that long, but kids tend to just wear their cleats across the track to use the bathroom or whatever, and when you spend $300 on a pair of cleats, as a parent, you really don't want to see that. And the reason that they do that is because they don't have something easy to slip on and slip off. So I'm working with somebody to, this is just to get an idea of how I want to do it, and I'm working with somebody that has a 3D printer to come up with a couple different prototypes so that we can experiment with what design would be the most useful, and then from there I'm hoping to actually use it.
So I have a quick question. How many, money aside, how many pairs of cleats do you think you've gone through above, like if this existed, how many fewer pairs do you think you would have had to buy? How much could this save you?
For youth soccer, you go through them because of size, right? Because they have them.
Mainly because of size,
except where?
I've had a pair of cleats literally fall apart on the field because they just weren't quite working anymore. The bottoms were messed up, the tops started to come off, and I had to buy new cleats.
So it wasn't because you outgrew them, like they just kind of fell apart?
My feet haven't changed that much.
So I'm sorry, I'm just wondering how many times that's happened. Like a couple times? 2, 3?
A couple times. I've seen girls who duct taped their cleats together before a tournament game because they didn't want to get blisters from new cleats.
Right.
And so I guess for the kids that really want the $300 cleats, which there are a lot of, especially in the premier soccer and upper select soccer, even just here in Seattle, they, especially at the high school level, they would also want this product because she didn't want to bring her mercurial cleats here.
That's cool.
Because they would get scuffed or messed up in some way.
Well, think about a hockey team. I mean, I grew up playing hockey, right? You wouldn't walk around with your skates on the concrete outside the rink. Everyone has skate protectors, right? That's normal.
No, I played for 16 years, and I think that at some point if this is cost effective,
Yes.
like I think the
That's-
price totally determines.
That's what I'm thinking. I would want these to be like super low cost.
Yeah.
And super easy to use.
Yeah, then you're, it's awesome.
What do you think by low cost would you?
It's like 20.
Less than
20, 30.
$20.
Yeah.
So one slipper thing in your pitch, we've done a lot of pitches, is make sure when you talk about it, is that because the total addressable market isn't youth soccer, the service addressable market is the market you're after.
Yeah.
So it's TAM and the SAM. The SAM is the people who are playing in select leagues that are buying this. You can get some of the data on that. How many pairs of those, how many youth soccer players playing in select. Because then it gives you a market you're really after. And my guess is in that market, you don't have to be at $20. At that market, you probably be at $50 to start. If you want to get to the mass market, you probably need to be $20. But if you look at the way markets mature, you have when you launch a company, what you are at launch and what your vision is to be at scale are two different things. You just have to live long enough to get to scale. Right? So you could probably create a design that was $50 and pre-ordered by Kickstarter campaign, right? And people would buy it in that market. You want to get to mass market, but that's okay. It's a good place to start.
Are you going to the startup weekend?
I have a prior commitment on Saturday, but I'm gonna try to get out. But things is like it's do it for the Google developers group. They're coming Saturday, and I go to
I got you. Because I think this is a really cool idea. Like, so if there's any way that you could
come up with
Fine.
some like numbers and everything.
Yeah, because I think like that's one of the benefits of the weekend, right? I mean, you've got a great idea, and it's almost like an opportunity to for free just get people to help you validate it, like in the course of 48 or 72 hours.
And I wouldn't be worried about, like, no one else. Like, you have the idea, you put a lot of thought into it. I just, people are going to build an app before they go this route, so don't worry about it. Thinking that it's good.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Thank you for prototyping for us. Well, I want to get back to the networking, but thank you, Dave, Nick, Carter. Let's give our panel a round of applause. Your guys' assignment is to comment on the meetup with the sport tech companies that you know or work for. And we'll be back at it in 3 months. So thanks, everyone.
Whoa, 3 months?
Well, you guys want to do more than every 3 months?
We'll figure that out.
Maybe
On the meetup.